Okay, for today's bit of fun, we're going to be making mini blowguns and darts for entertainment around camp or wherever. A lot of times, people will carry a stainless steel straw, titanium, whatever. These are starting to become in vogue now with all the plastic, whining about the plastic straws and whatnot. What I've done to them is I'll take a diamond stone or something along that line, and sharpen the bottom of it. I do that to these stainless ones where they're indexed, because you can actually use it to core sample, in a pinch, defend yourself, cut through things, spinning it. Just a little added something for what I use these for, which you can pull water out of a crevasse, use it to start a fire to where you aren't getting your face down into the smoke so much. You see the collapsible ones. I like the full-size straws because you can also use it as a straw. They're just kind of handy little bits to have along. They don't weigh crap, but if you sit here and sharpen them up like this, they'll become even a little more useful. You just got to remember what end you sharpened. Hence the indexing. But these, the other thing I like to do with them just for grins, when you're hunting the wild grasshoppers and things along that line, is you take map pins or quilt pins. Either one work. Map pins are usually easier to find right now. Right now, I don't know what it is. Needles, leather needles, everything like that's disappearing. Don't get it. They're just gone for a while. So luckily I had enough of what I'm doing, but for the map pins, I run across these in Wally Mart. They're shorter, so I thought there'd be a lot more interesting for what I'm doing with these for today. Okay, so to make the darts, which are they're actually kind of fun to make, you got out some 550 cord, real 550 cord. I use orange for this because it's easier to find the darts. You can use any color you want. Scrap ends, made some of these for a couple writer friends of mine to play with. And I was using just the scrap ends of 550 cord from where I was making stuff out of them. So when you pull the inner lining out, each one of these, the 7 strands, will break down into strands that can be taken apart and used. In this case, there are 3. Then the inner strands, once they're taken down, they'll break down further into 2 strands, which you get here. And this is also, when you're breaking this down, what I tell people when I'm teaching and things along that line, 2 foot of 550 cord. That's really all you need. That's why I carry bundles of hooks, just buttloads of hooks. You don't really need, so long as you got 550 cord, you don't need a lot of line, because you can break off 2 feet of line, tie them onto a bunch of sticks or something, and just hang it in the water with your bait. Then go do something else. This you can get per strand for 2 feet. You can get 3 pieces out of each one of these strands, and then those will break down. So that's 2, and then you get six basically fishing lines that is damn strong for every strand of 550 cord. So you can get a lot of fishing line out of this. You can make these longer if you want, but I advocate for about 2 feet. You carry 40, 50 hooks, 2 feet of line will pretty much cover your hooks. And you can bait those up and go do something else. Now, that's my little tip for that game. What we do on this is once you cut the ends, everybody fuses this over right away. Well, the sheath, when you're fusing this over, you want to kind of be a little bit careful, because you don't want to fuse it completely over. You don't want it to fray. You want to be able to get the shaft of the pin through. So you just very carefully, you can do this with a lighter, you can do this with virtually anything. See how it's fused up with the little tiny hole? That's how you want it. So you keep it to where it's cool. If you do this too fast, you'll bend that all out of shape. Now the other thing is on this is if you heat it too much and it fuses over, you can keep a pin handy real quick and stick down through the middle of it, and you'll form your hole again. It'll pull the excess plastic out if you're careful and quick. And you cut it off to the length you want it, of which case I'm usually running 3/4 of an inch or so And you take your pen, quilt pen, matte pen, whatever. You can even use light nails, but they're not as much fun to shoot, and they don't stick as well usually. You have to sharpen them up. And you work your pen. All right, this one's going to be an obnoxious one. You try to get your pen through that little hole. Most of the time it usually just drops straight in. This time it's being a jerk. There we go. Straight through the hole. Pull it all the way up in there as far as you can get it. You want to kind of be a little bit careful. See, this one's a little better. You can regulate the size of the hole. This one was the first one I'd made in quite a while, and it was loose. So you can either very carefully heat it to close the hole up, which when you're in the field, that's probably the likeliest bet. Or you can just drop a drop of super glue down in there to keep it tight. But that's neither here nor there. This one's actually pretty solid. So once you get it in there, squeeze it with your fingers to push it all the way to the front. And if it pops out the front, reheat the hole because it was too large. Quilt pens have a little bigger head than these do, so they're generally easier. You can't, they're real tiny, like what they call the martini straws. You can't shoot these out of. You'll have to come up with your own design because they're entirely too big to fit in the straw to start with. You don't need a piece of straw. We used to do these with plastic straws or copper tubing when we were kids. The shoelaces have the plastic ends. Well, we cut those off, cut half the plastic end off, run a straight pin in there and glue it in, and then fray out the shoelace and shoot those. A lot of people wasn't real happy about that because they would stick quite well, and I do believe we got in a spot of trouble over that. But kids are kids. Mentioning that, if you do this with your kids, you better regulate it, because I guarantee you're going to have one of these stuck in your butt. That's just what kids do, or it's going to be stuck in each other's butts. And they will, I can bury these clear up to the flights in 3 or 4 layers of cardboard without too much of a hassle, so that should tell you roughly about what they'll do. They're not a they're not a lot of fun to pull back out if they're in your butt or anywhere else. Okay, then the quick and easy. When I first started making these, I was heating these with, or super gluing the knot. Then it dawned on me that, you know, why bother with the super glue? Just flash it quick with heat. Hello, buddy. And then fray all this out quite well. Fray all this out pretty good. And that's basically your dart. Slip it in there to where the flights are buried, and then shoot it. And it will stick.